Hello, hello. Welcome to Just Jenna. You have no idea how excited I am that you're here. I'll be sharing the wisdom, questions, and curious little truths I've gathered along the way. From brilliant thinkers to weird memes, from ancient texts to the knowing of nature. Some of what I've learned came from books, some from breakdowns, some from simply paying attention, and some from fumbling through it myself. My hope is that these stories expand you the way that they've expanded me. So maybe, just maybe, you don't have to trip over the same parts of life I did. And if you do trip and fall, it's okay. I won't tell anyone. Hello, my little chickadees, my little chickadees. We're going to jump right into part 2 of the Yamas and Niyamas. We're going to finish off with the 5th and final Yama, Aparigraha, and then I'm going to take you through all the Niyamas. Is this going to be a part 2 with a conclusion at the end? Perhaps. Will there be a part 3? Unbeknownst to me. But I got a lot to say, so buckle up, get a drink, clear your mind, take a breath. Here we go. It's happening. The 5th Yama, Aparigraha. Non-grasping, non-attachment. This is the practice of letting go of greed and the constant desire for more, trusting in abundance rather than clinging or hoarding. For me, the biggest lesson in Aparigraha has come through exploring attachment and really questioning what it means in my own life. What does attachment mean? What does non-attachment look like? What does detachment feel like? How does it continue to show up in my daily experience? When I first began cultivating a sense of non-attachment by embodying detachment, if you will, it was super uncomfortable. It felt like I was going against something primal in my brain, because the brain is always trying to give certainty, right? So it's always trying to attach to something, to an outcome, to people, to behaviors, because the brain is a processing machine that is desperately trying to create safety in a world full of uncertainty. And so when your brain is grasping for control, trying to force an outcome, trying to make someone do something or behave in a certain way, you start to realize how much of it is, well, quite frankly, an illusion. It's a complete waste of energy, because what is meant to be will be. The time you spend grasping in the in-between space from the moment of desire to the moment of manifestation, it's all wasted energy. The only thing you actually have control over is the quality of your thoughts in the in-between space. Letting go of attachment to outcomes has been one of my biggest challenges, but it has been so worth it. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, translated by Sri Swami Satchitananda, Aparigraha is defined in Sutra 2.39 as when non-greed, here we go, starting again. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, translated by Sri Swami Satchitananda, Aparigraha is defined in Sutra 2.39 as when non-greed is confirmed, a thorough illumination of the how and why of one's birth comes. Quite frankly, I'm obsessed with the way that this is translated because it's both dramatic and matter of fact. To me, it says when you release attachment, when you release greed, you gain clarity, period. You can finally see yourself and your life clearly. Through my own practice, I've noticed that when I'm becoming overly attached or when I'm gripping tightly to an outcome, it's almost always because I've lost trust in something. I've lost trust in myself, in the universe, in the natural unfolding of my life. Because when I think about attachment styles and secure attachment specifically, the essence of it is trust. People with secure attachment trust themselves. They trust others. They trust nature. They trust expression. They trust the natural laws and they can relax. But when your mind is telling you that abandonment is around the corner, or that someone will betray you, or that you must produce constant value to be liked, or that you have to cling to control, all of that stems from an illusion. It's your brain trying to control outcomes because it does not trust the flow. It can't see the end product. That grasping leads to self-sabotage. You start acting out of character, making choices not from love, not from your true self, but from fear. And it's scary. It's scary at first to let go of control because for so many of us, somewhere along the way, our needs were not met. Whether it was Big T or little t trauma, somewhere in our childhood, certainty was broken, of course. But Aparigraha is not about blaming. It's about looking honestly and curiously at what is true and remembering that you have the ability to change the way that you show up now. A way to begin practicing non-attachment is by asking yourself some questions. What expectations am I placing on my friendships, my relationships, my career, or even myself? Where am I attaching to specific outcomes? Where am I expecting others to behave in a certain way for me to feel safe? When you're looking at these questions with curiosity, of course, not judgment, you'll begin to see that you're clinging. And the point is not to bully yourself into change here. The point is to bring awareness, to experiment, and to play with letting go. Aparigraha also applies to possessions. So what possessions or material things can you detach from? Not because you need to throw everything away and live like a monk on a hilltop, but because sometimes the stories that we create around our possessions cause unnecessary suffering. Maybe you dreamed of having a certain car, you worked hard for it, and you finally got it, but now you're so anxious about scratches and spills that you can't even enjoy your car because you realize you're holding so tightly onto this thing that has now turned into suffering. This dream has turned into suffering, but the car's neutral. It's the story about the car that's creating the stress. So can you relax into this ownership without gripping? Can you trust that, hey, if something happens, it'll be handled? Because possessions themselves are neutral. The same pair of jeans could make one person feel confident and radiant, while another person tosses them into an overflowing drawer, and they feel stressed every single time they look at all this clutter. It's never about the jeans. It's about your relationship to the jeans. It's about the story you have. Aparigraha is about seeing clearly where you're grasping and loosening this grip. I genuinely believe that non-attachment makes us healthier. So when you're overly attached, your nervous system stays stuck in this fight, flight, or fawn. You cannot rest, digest, and you cannot create. But when you practice Aparigraha, your nervous system relaxes. You return to creativity, clarity, calm, and peace. You move from survival mode into creation mode. And for me, conversation has been a big medicine here. Writing down my fears, speaking them out loud, having honest conversations with myself or someone that I trust. It always helps me see where I'm clinging. And sometimes just by expressing the uncertainty brings a sort of healing. Sometimes the truth is that my fears are completely made up stories that my brain has created for safety. And sometimes the truth is I need to talk about it with someone and gain some clarity. Aparigraha asks us to open our hands instead of clenching them tight. So if you want to explore this further, I highly recommend learning about attachment theory. Seriously. Notice how you show up in your relationships. It's very loud, okay? Notice how others show up for you. Notice where you grip. Notice where you avoid. Notice where you chase. Just notice. Educate yourself. Apply some action. And watch how your quality of life transforms. Because to me, Aparigraha is ultimately about trust. Trusting that everything is unfolding exactly how it should. Trusting that abundance exists. Trusting that you're safe here now without obsessively clinging to outcomes or possessions. Trusting that your brain is just doing its job. And that you can still choose to loosen your grip. And to me, that is Aparigraha. Now moving on to the 5 Niyamas. Niyama is defined as an observance. From Mark Steffen's Teaching Yoga, he explains that the Niyamas are personal observances, a means of well-being that bring our attention from relationships with others to the intimacy of our relationship to ourselves. Observing the Niyamas leads to a deeper authenticity in our teaching practices. Or our daily life. He didn't say that, but I just did. The first niyama is Saucha, purity, cleanliness. This is defined as keeping your body, mind, and surroundings clean and being mindful of what you consume physically and mentally. Now, let me just start out by saying I really enjoy contemplating the niyamas because, again, this is it's a helpful compass when you're navigating your life. I am a big believer in being mindful and checking in with how you feel before, during, and after quite literally anything. Over the last couple of years, I've noticed something interesting about myself, right? So when I go through phases of watching scary movies, reading scary books, TV shows, etc., I start having nightmares all the time. I have bad dreams all the time, which means I have bad sleep, which makes me feel paranoid throughout the day. And it's been something interesting that I've just observed about myself. And because of that, I don't consume scary TV shows anymore. I used to listen to true crime podcasts, like investigative, interesting podcasts, and I started noticing how much it was affecting my current reality. The way that it was making me feel nervous and scared and quite frankly frightened in both my waking and restful hours. And I know for some people it might look silly, but for the most part, I literally just don't consume this type of content anymore because of how much it affects me. And I really want to point out here that the scary show, the scary movie, the true crime podcast, it's completely neutral. It's not bad. It just affects me negatively right now. Someone else could watch a scary movie and feel curious and excited and maybe even inspired to create their own true crime podcast, or inspired to research more, or for lack of a better word, it could be a positive thing. So I just think it's important to know that when you start contemplating this word Saucha in your own life and you find that maybe there's a certain type of media that doesn't work for you and it affects you negatively, or you feel a certain type of person you don't really jive with, you don't really like being around, or a certain food makes you feel like shit, that this is just your reality for right now. The only thing you have control over is your life. And it's best not to start preaching to other people what you're learning about yourself as though it has to be true for all of them as well. The reason I'm saying this is because I noticed when I first started coming into this awareness that I didn't like watching scary movies because I felt how much it was affecting my life. I thought because it was true for me, it must be true for everybody. So I kind of got up on my high horse and I'd be all preachy, telling people that they shouldn't watch scary movies because it was bad for them. But in reality, I had no idea what was going on in someone else's world. I was just projecting, and I told myself it was coming from a good place because, of course, I just wanted to help people. But in reality, I was just trying to be right. And I think it's helpful here to check in and say that this niyama isn't about trying to make something you deem impure into something pure, but rather looking at everything as pure already. Everything already is pure. Everything just is what it is. It's our relationship to it that colors the whole situation. It's kind of like, just accepting things as they are. And for me, it's not that I now deem scary movies as a bad thing or an impure thing or something that is bad for me or bad for anybody else. It is neutral. It is just a scary movie. However, I also have the wherewithal and the free will and the autonomy over my life and my situation to see that something that muddies up my psyche is a scary movie, and therefore it won't be welcomed into my world at this time. So it's just interesting to think about because I still don't have the answers, but it's kind of where I'm at with all this right now. And you can start asking yourself some questions like, where in your life could you benefit from cleansing, detoxing, or purifying? And I think these words in general can be used pretty interchangeably. So whatever word feels good for you, whatever word makes sense for you, use it. So maybe you look at the word cleanse kind of like how I do. I think of cleanse as like food and drinks. So maybe you can ask yourself, in what areas of my life could I benefit from eating foods that make me happier, eating foods that make me feel better, drinking more of something, drinking less of something. And then when I think of detoxing, I kind of think of like a digital detox. So like, could I benefit from that? Could I benefit from a digital detox? Could I benefit from detoxing from certain people I'm around too often, from habits I do too much? When I think of detox, I think about the areas of my life where the pendulum has kind of swung too far in one direction and how I could possibly bring it back into balance. And then there's purifying, because for me, this means kind of looking at situations as neutral and seeing where my mind is creating a story based on my past or on an assumption I'm making about a person, place, or thing, and realizing that there's a good chance I'm wrong, that my brain is wrong, and that realization honestly just feels like a breath air to me. When I first started learning about Saucha and keeping my body, mind, and surroundings clean, being mindful of what I consume physically and mentally, it opened me up to a whole new awareness for me. I started noticing all the different ways I consume, the media I consume, the social media I scroll through, the food I eat, the substances I take in, the opinions I absorb, even the voices in my own head. All of it matters. All of it affects me, and I've realized that I need to keep coming back to purifying and detoxing from these thoughts, these feelings, and the opinions of others, especially from strangers or from people whose intentions I don't fully know. So I keep coming back to this. Am I currently living in a clean and pure way with my food, with the way that I care for my body, with the way that I'm feeding my mind, with the way that I'm feeding my spirit? Because here is the thing. If you're not actively, consciously, intentionally feeding your mind, body, and spirit, something else is. Your mind is being fed all the time. You have some control over what it's fed. Are you putting yourself into courses and learning new information, having insightful discussions about ideas and innovation rather than gossip and drama? Are you reading? Are you studying? Are you having loving conversations, or are you not? And same with your body. If you're not an active participant in how your body is being fed, then it's just being fed by cravings and habits or influences outside of you. Same with your spirit. Life demands attention. Life demands that these parts of us are fed. And so I've kind of just surrendered to this truth. The surrender has kind of allowed me to take more accountability over what I am feeding myself with. And it's allowed me to be more of an active participant in choosing what I feed my mind, my body, and my spirit. So you might be thinking, okay, Jenna, that's nice, but what's the point? Why is this worthwhile? Why is purity and cleanliness a niyama? Well, I honestly believe that when you feel clean, when you feel pure, when you have a clear mind, body, and spirit, you can actually enter the present moment and see it for what it is. You can enter relationships and experiences and people for who they are. You can look at yourself in the mirror and experience yourself for who you really are instead of through this cluttered, muddied mind. And it's not static. Things can change day to day. Maybe one day social media feels neutral and you can use it without harm. Great. But maybe the next day makes you feel anxious, drained, or insecure. That day, Saucha might look like taking a break. That is Saucha in action, the discipline of honesty, noticing, and adjusting. Because when your brain is messy, or your body feels sluggish, or you're in fight or flight, or you're weighed down by the things that you consume, you will inevitably show up at less than your fullest in the present moment. And the present moment is the most important thing here, people. So if you can develop even the small discipline or devotion or ritual around purifying your thoughts, your words, your actions, purifying what you feed your mind, your body, your spirit, you will live, I'm going to stand on it, you will live a richer and more fulfilling life. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Sri Swami Satchidananda explains in Book 2, Sutra 40, he says that by purification arises disgust for one's own body and for contact with other bodies. He goes on to describe how no matter how much perfume or powder we put on, the body is constantly secreting, discharging, and decaying. We're never 100% pure. And for me, there's kind of relief in that. I'm like, the goal isn't to become this like perfect or godlike thing. The goal is to accept your humanness and to use your energy more wisely. Instead of obsessing or covering up your natural processes, we can redirect at that time and attention into practices that actually enrich us. He continues in this sutra by explaining that Saucha brings purity of sattva, cheerfulness of mind, one-pointedness, mastery over the senses, and fitness for self-realization. When the heart is pure, joy comes naturally, focus comes naturally, peace comes naturally. So how do we live like this? I like to come back to the reminder in the 4 agreements. Do your best. I think it's the last of the 4 agreements. Just do your best. That's all. Not perfection, just your best. And your best will look different from day to day, year to year, week to week, month to month. That's okay. The point is showing up honestly and trying your best to clean your thoughts, your words, and your actions. If you want to take this deeper, try experimenting for 1 full day. Feed your body nourishing foods that uplift you and make you feel alive. Feed your mind inspiring knowledge and supportive thoughts. Feed your spirit with art, beauty, creativity, or nature. Fully devote yourself for 1 day by being mindful of what you consume, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And at the end of the day, just reflect how you feel. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. It feels good. It feels right. And over time, it becomes natural. It becomes who you are. And to me, that is Saucha. The second niyama is Santosha, or contentment. Santosha, or contentment, is about cultivating the sense of acceptance and gratitude for what is, rather than constantly chasing what isn't. Here we go, you guys. This is the one. This is the one concept I feel is echoed in damn near every religion, every self-help book, every workshop, every course, every philosophical teaching, every piece of literature, every story ever. And here we go. It's about gratitude. This is contentment. This is the practice of gratitude for what you have. I have found that sometimes gratitude, or trying to find gratitude in your heart when you don't feel like you're in a good spot in life, when you're in a negative headspace, or when something genuinely bad is going on, it can feel really hard to cultivate gratitude. It can feel impossible, actually, to pull gratitude into your awareness. And in those moments, it's totally fair. Of course it is. But what I've learned that gratitude is almost like a byproduct of contentment. And so what's contentment? Contentment can be defined as a state of being satisfied, at peace, or accepting the present moment for what it is, rather than constantly reaching, grasping, or desiring more. Contentment is not the same as complacency. Contentment doesn't mean you stop growing, dreaming, or moving forward. It means you cultivate a sense of inner peace and fulfillment, regardless of your external circumstances. So, when you're able to feel contentment, not just a thought, but contentment is this state. Think of when you're in a state of happiness, a state of sadness, or a state of anger, like your whole body feels it. That's what contentment is. So when you are able to get your whole mind, body, spirit all on the same page, all moving in the same direction, all being content on their own, not relying on anything going on in your external world, not relying even on the swirl of your internal thoughts, there is this feeling of gratitude, people, that arises naturally. Because when you are content with the present moment, you cannot help but feel grateful for it. I think a lot of times we treat gratitude as this like search. We're trying to find something good, trying to find hope, trying to pull out a positive reminder. But Santosha, to me, is different. Gratitude here isn't about searching. It's about resting in contentment and realizing that gratitude is simply there, already present. You don't even need to dig for it. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 42, it states, "By contentment, supreme joy is gained." In his commentary on the sutra, Sri Swami Satchidananda explains that as a result of contentment, one gains supreme joy. He emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between contentment and satisfaction. Contentment, he says, simply means to be as we are, without depending on outside things for our happiness. If it comes, we let it come. If not, it doesn't matter. Contentment means neither to like nor dislike. And I love this teaching because the practice of contentment has allowed gratitude to come into my life in a way that's not just a thought, but it is something I am viscerally feeling throughout my body. And an absolute classic question to contemplate here. And I'm really not reinventing the wheel here. Okay, I got to be honest, but I'm just saying, what are 3 to 5 things you're grateful for? Here we go. Just 3 to 5 things. Everyone talks about this practice. I know, but it's timeless. It is absolutely timeless. There was a point in my life where finding things I was grateful for felt extremely challenging. So I reframed it. I started a joy journal where I wrote down the things that brought me joy at the end of each and every day. For whatever reason, joy was easier for me to access than gratitude at the time. And that is this beautiful thing about language. It's so subjective. It's so contextual. So if gratitude feels sticky for you, maybe joy doesn't. Maybe you like the word appreciation. So find whatever word works for you. Joy, gratitude, appreciation, wherever it is, begin there. It does not matter. Something else that I've done that actually bleeds into a little of the third niyama, but we'll get there when we get there, is making gratitude a ritual. So every day I write down what I'm grateful for, what makes me happy, and what I appreciate. And I think where the key lies here is practice, because I've made gratitude a daily practice. It's become easier and easier. It has become natural. And here's my recommendation if you're starting out, if you're curious about gratitude. Attach your gratitude practice to something you're already doing every single day. Brushing your teeth, eating breakfast, making coffee, letting the dog out, whatever it is for you that you do every single day, you pair that. If you pair gratitude with something that you are like a daily habit you already have, it sticks. And over time, it becomes your knee-jerk reaction. You start doing it every day, and eventually this just becomes who you are. And then one day, without even realizing it, you're the person telling other people to start practicing gratitude. And to me, that is Santosha. And with that being said, I think I'm going to make a third part here because this is long-winded, people. I got things to say about it. But there are 3 more niyamas that I want to discuss with you guys, which are tapas, which is discipline and heat. Svadhyaya. Ooh, I love Svadhyaya. I love the way that it sounds off my tongue. I also love what it is because it's self-study. And Ishvari Paridhana. It's hard for me to say that one, but that is surrender to a higher power. And the next 3, they're pretty long-winded, so I think I'm just going to leave you guys with those 3 for now. And tune in next week. Tune in for the finale of the Yamas and the Niyamas. Also, I have a question. Anyone listening to this, I have wrote a bunch of stuff about this as well. Should I put this on my Substack? Like the whole long thing? Because it's like, I'm at like 25, 30 pages, you guys. I'm not kidding. Would you rather read something in long form? Or should I release like one yama every couple days? Like Monday, I release one thing. Then on Wednesday, I release another. Then on Friday, I release another. So it's just like little bits and babs and pieces. What should we do? What do you guys want? How would you rather consume this? Even now, tell me, would you rather had I talked about one yama per episode, one niyama per episode, or do you like that I'm kind of like going into it? Would you rather have I do like a 10-minute long podcast and do maybe like a 10-minute long podcast twice a week, once a week, 3 times a week? I don't know. Or do you like the 30, 40 minute to an hour sit down and chat? You have to tell me these things. You must communicate with me because I don't have a damn clue. But I know I'm having a good time doing it, right? So that's the whole point here. But I'd like to do a good job. I want to give to you people, right? So let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what's going on. But anyways, tune back in. And I think I have to like keep this as like part of my thing now because it's too good. It's too good to be true. I can't waste this opportunity. Before I say it, I'm going to say I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. But now I get to say the fun part. See you next Tuesday.